for tuning in. I was going to try and make a new video with baby. The problem is she wouldn't start. We're going to do a full overhaul on the engine. Because I was so successful with Frankie, I'm going to try doing it with baby. Grab whatever you want to munch on, maybe a drink, sit back and relax. Here we go. Because I couldn't start her and I kept pulling and yanking on this thing, the spring gave away again as well. I gotta disconnect the throttle. I'm gonna pull off the fuel feed. I'm just loosening the little Allen nut here that holds the exhaust to the support. We're gonna get under here now. You just wanna put gradual force. You don't wanna try and crank them off too quickly, because instead of breaking the thread lock, you're going to wind up stripping the head, and then you get a bigger problem. Okay, there we go. Engine is out. Oh, it's so cute. Air filter off. Alright, all screws are out. Ripcord's coming out. Here's my one-way bearing. Take note as to which way it's going, because you don't want to be putting it back the wrong way, because then you're going to be pulling it and it's just going to be spinning the bearing and not the motor. I usually like to put it back in the ripcord the right way, so that way I know that when it comes out it goes on that way. So now I'm going to take off this exhaust and I'm going to show you one of the mods that I did to my exhaust header. Now here's what I was talking about. If you look at it this way, you see how small that hole is, the inlet hole, and how big the outlet hole is on the motor? What I did was, if you look at this, if I turn it, you can see I actually ground out the flange to make the inlet a little bit more open so that more exhaust can go in there instead of being bounced off, because the size of this hole, that's how big the inlet was all the way through the flange. So I bored out, you shaved out the sides of this flange, and it allows for more exhaust to enter in there without as much straight wall obstruction for it to bounce back. So it kind of cones the pressure in through here, and it actually gives you a little bit more punch, allowing more exhaust to escape. Of course, that means it allows more fuel and air to come in as well, so that which always equals in more power. Even with the exhaust open up all the way, there's some compression left in this motor. Let me get this heat sink off. Okay guys, so I got the heat sink off and I see something I really don't like. It's how dark the top of that piston is. That's not a good sign. I mean, a little bit of discoloration, yeah, but that's really, really dark, man. When I took the engine apart on Frankie, it was nowhere near as dark as that, so that's a little scary. Kind of feel vibration almost. I might have to do a rebuild, not just an overhaul, but we'll try to clean it up and see what happens. So now I'm going to remove the pinions, the bell housing, and flywheel, but screw side, these go. Okay, just a little bearing there, and we'll remove these clutches. Now I got this guy on, so we've got to get something around this to hold it in place to get this shaft off. Old reliable vice grip. Okay, we can hold it in place. There we go. Got that guy off. So I got that flywheel off, clamp washer on there as well. Make sure you put that aside, and then under that washer, oh man, this is really dirty in here. All along the edge here, how dirty that is. So I'm gonna start taking the back of the motor off so we can get the crank out and the piston and push rod. All right, so I've got all these screws out, but ooh, the backing plate was stuck. There's some nasty stuff in this motor. Even this is dirty. And push the sleeve out a little bit. There we go. There's the sleeve. Now we got that piston rattling around in there. Should be able to get it off this crank. Bingo. Just falls right off. And now the good thing is that it doesn't look too badly scored or scratched around the sides of it. It's a little burnt on that side there, but look how dark the top of it is. So let's take this crank out of here. It spins pretty freely, but I don't like the noise it makes. I don't know if you can hear that. I'd like it to be a lot quieter than that. Let's try the old vice grip taparoonie. Tap, tap, tap. Yep, it's definitely stuck in there. Tappy, tappy, tappy. And see how dark that is? And then look inside the inlet. Pretty dark. She's dirty. So we got the engine all apart. So what I'm going to use today to clean these parts off is this stuff called After Run. This is a product that normally you would put through your engine after you're done. It stops corrosion inside the motor from forming, but it's a great metal cleaner as well. Man, the inside of my clutch bell is like really rusty. Look at that. Try it on this first. Put a little drop of it in there. Get it all around. I'm gonna take my cloth, wiping her out. Oh baby, look at that. Look at that, all done. Beauty. No more rust in there. And because I'm using this stuff, it's gonna take a lot longer for the rust to form back as well. Next part is this little guy here. So we're gonna try a little dab on the top of this piston. I'm just gonna leave it on there for a little bit. Now, after a couple of applications with the After Run, a little tiny bit of scouring on top here. Just look at the top of that piston now. It's nice and shiny. All the brown marks are off the side of it. And it really didn't take, I mean, the top took a little bit of scouring, but the rest of it, it really didn't take much elbow grease at all to get it off. So that's a good sign. Let's see what we can do about this guy, the sleeves. Just to give you a close-up, see what it looks like now. See all the dark spots, this brown stuff that looks like it's been coming out from, I think that might be the exhaust or inlet port maybe. Yeah, we're gonna see if we can get this to look like one color again. So after cleaning, there's still some marks here where the brown used to be. I can't seem to clean those off, but as you can see, it's a lot cleaner. It's a lot nicer now, even the inside of it. I don't know if you can actually see the inside of it. Let's get started on this crankshaft. See, it's really dark where the air fuel mixture goes. It's really nasty. So as I was cleaning it out, look how it came out. And that's just from me putting it in there and turning it. Like cleaning out your ears. Everything's cleaning up really nice actually. Even the crankshaft itself, you remember it had all those lines from where it was making contact with the bearings? Well, it still has them, but they're nowhere near as dark, and I haven't finished cleaning it up yet either. Spent a little bit more time shining up a little bit more. I don't think I'm gonna get it any better than that. That's about as good as it gets. Look at how nice and clean it is inside the air fuel mixture inlet now. Nice and clean. When I put a towel through there, it doesn't come out black anymore. I actually dripped a bunch of this stuff in all the bearings inside and let it sit in there. But remember guys, this oil is specifically made safe for these motors. So you gotta watch what kind of stuff you use to clean out the motor, because you don't wanna leave a residue that's no good for the motor. This stuff is designed basically to run through a motor. So even if I leave some excess behind, it's just gonna help. It's not gonna do any damage. So I wouldn't recommend using like WD-40 or liquid wrench or anything like that, because I don't know what they're made with and I don't know if they're safe for a running engine. But this stuff definitely, give you a little gander at that. I don't know how well you can see in there, if my lighting's good enough for you to see in there, but it's definitely a lot cleaner than it was. There's one more interior piece I almost forgot about, and that's the pull start crank. It's probably not that big of a deal that this is kind of dark and dirty, but since we're in here, like I said before, if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it right. All right, so there's my ripcord crank, all nice and shiny again, shiny and new. Definitely fits in this a lot easier. Actually had a little, it was actually catching when I was pulling it out, and now it doesn't catch anymore. So good stuff so far. I cleaned up the inside of my heatsink. That was pretty nasty as well. I don't know if I actually showed you how that looked like before, but you can take my word for it. So we're gonna reassemble the reverse way we took it apart. Let's crank back in. Hopefully this should just slide in. So much easier. Guys, did you see I had to hammer this thing out with the vice grip? Now it just slides right in. A little slight vibration when I spun this before I cleaned it up. That's gone. It spins really nice and quietly now. Remember, I don't know if you could hear before. Now when I spin it, now you can't really hear anything. And this one, and this guy. And I'm gonna put this guy back. Trusty vice grip, just to hold the flywheel nice and still as I need it. Put the clutch on. Okay. The little divot here in the push rod, so that divot faces toward the front of the motor. This faces this way, so that this hole, not to be confused with the set pin hole, but there's an actual second hole here in this piston that's facing the opposite way of the exhaust. There we go. Let's back around it. And now the sleeve, let's line it up. Oh, lots of pressure. That's a good sign we got compression. Look how clean it looks in there now. Beauty! I love that guy. Steve from Shen RC. Beauty! He's awesome. Thread lock. Good. All right, back plate's on. Man, that's good. Good. Oh man, we're getting there. Now, put the exhaust manifold back on. So that's back on. Now, same with the heat sink for the exhaust manifold. You want to just tighten it up so that it's butted up. And now it's nice and tight. Both of them. There we go. Air filter back in there. We're gonna put this little beauty aside for now. We're gonna get into this guy. Okay guys, so the spring is back in. I got it bent around so that it catches on the inside catch. I'm just gonna put this guy back in here. We got the vice grips on the end. I want the string to be able to go in farther than it normally sits in the rest position. When I pull it, it doesn't just flop down, it actually returns to a good rest position. All right, so here we are. All fixed. To avoid making a mistake, I'll put the vice grip down here. Because if I let go of the string, it's gonna go all the way inside now because of the extra amount of tension that I have on it. I'm gonna slide this guy over. Put the handle back on, tie a little knot at the very end, nice and tight, and release. Ta-da! There's my fixed ripcord, ready to break again. Ripcord's back on, and ooh, actually feels like there's more compression than there was before. I got everything back together, servos are aligned properly. Time to take it out and see how it does.